For today's episode, I actually kind of wanted to continue that theme of female main characters in unusual horror situations. So it hits me, hey, wait a second, I'm a huge TECMO fanboy, and they did that one series of kind of horror survival games, right? And that had a female main character. Brilliant. Only I was thinking of the second game because I've never played this game at all. I only know it exists because Aldebaran, the game's first enemy, and I think I'm saying that right, is a monster that you can raise in Monster Rancher 1. Seriously, I totally thought this was the sequel. But hey, time to right historic wrongs, am I right? So, actually breaking from this month's unintentional but definitely now a thing theme, join me for a closer look at TECMO's Deception, Invitation to Darkness. Greetings everyone, this is the Hipster Snack, and today we're going to be taking a look at the TECMO title, TECMO's Deception, Invitation to Darkness. That is actually the full title, and henceforth I'm going to refer to it simply as Deception, because that title can be a bit much. I also like how TECMO had to put TECMO as part of the title, like they really wanted you to know that it was theirs. Anyway, the game was released exclusively on the original PlayStation in 1996, and immediately caused controversy, outrage, and huge headaches for itself. The reason why is found in the story, which is the first 5 minutes of the game. Oh, fun fact, all of this that you're seeing right now, completely skippable if you want. You can just tap start and get straight to the gameplay segments within 30 seconds. Nicely done, TECMO. Way to put Squeenix to shame there. Anyway, the story opens with the nameless prince of Zamikia returning home to speak to his father, the king. The prince has no canon name, by the way, as the game prompts you for his name when you start a new game. Anyway, the prince is happy to report that he had a lovely meeting with his fiancée, Princess Fiona, and that all is well. The king, delighted that all is going so gosh darn well, decides that maybe he's been in power for long enough, and that it's only right and fitting that he hand the crown to his eldest son. Just in time to get assassinated by a magically appearing sword, and the nameless prince's younger brother, Urius, declares that you are the culprit and hastily has you moved to be summarily executed. As the prince is moved towards the gallows, swimming in confusion and rage, he cries out, "I need power. Good, evil, I don't care. Someone help me." Good bad luckily, the prince is indeed rescued and taken deep into the forest by Astarte, a strange blue-skinned woman and right-hand lackey to literal, actual Satan. He is then brought to the Castle of Darkness and told that he should control it, and he will have the power to exact the revenge he so desires. To do so, he need only kill its current owner, Aldebaran. And again, pretty sure I'm saying that right, but whatever. Thus, the prince is taught in the way of the castle's dark powers, manifesting as traps that can ensnare, kill, and hobble enemies who dare to enter it. Turning the castle's own powers on him, the prince kills Aldebaran and begins working with Astarte, beginning his campaign as the villain of his own story, seeking to grow his control of the castle ever greater and eliminate all threats who come to his new home, be they there for glory, riches, control of the castle itself, or to tie up loose ends. Thus, the game begins. And yeah, obviously the censorious 90s didn't think very much of the prince channeling literal actual Satan, causing the game to get a bit of a bad reputation straight out of the gates. Future games would eschew the whole Satan thing in favor of other dark forces comfortably veiled in fiction, thus avoiding these future issues. More on this in a bit. Graphically, the game is that very cozy first-person PS1 camera world. Everything's a bit blocky and chunky, and honestly, I like it. It's a comfortable retro chic, and it totally works. Everything's vivid, even if most of the backgrounds will tend to be cobblestone gray. But the rooms are full of neat stuff, and the traps themselves are pretty darn spiffy. It's the right level of impressive for its time, combined with artistically, thematically consistent, that makes for a good viewing experience. Anyone who likes that PS1 look should appreciate this. And sound-wise, the game's in a good place. The traps sound cathartic to spring, and the enemies have cries of exertion, damage-taking, and fear responses. More on that in a minute because it leads to a really cool mechanical consideration. In fact, the sound design hinges a lot of gameplay on it all on its own. I am genuinely impressed. And while the general stage themes don't tend to pick up till later levels and plot significant moments, the music from the very beginning is quite good. Alright, that out of the way, let's dive into the gameplay. Have you ever wanted to feel like you're the dark evil overlord? Well, this is the game for you! While the first mission has you breaking into the castle alongside some other would-be dark overlords, you have the wit, cunning, and traps to actually make it work in your favor. Let's start with the controls, because the vast majority of the buttons on your controller are going to influence your movement. The shoulder buttons let you strafe and look up and down, revolutionary for a time prior to dual-stick movement controls, and your buttons let you use traps set in each room, or use items in your inventory a la Metroidvania titles. Also, you can move lightning quick, which is good in particular because you don't have a sword to your name or any real means of defending yourself when you first start. When we first encounter Aldebaran, our only option is to flee and allow him to cut down other nameless NPCs as a distraction until we find a way to get around him. Once the old lord of the manor is cut down in the tutorial mission, and Astarte gives us access to the magic jewel, we're allowed much greater control as lord over the mansion. Limited by 3 factors, our health, which is frankly obvious, our magic points, our MP, and our gold, we are able to control and expand our castle in fairly freeform fashion. But before I explain that part, I should explain how the game's main gameplay feature works, which is the action phase. Enemies pour in waves, and you clear each chapter after a certain number of waves have come and gone. You then can go around the castle freely in order to lure your targets around while they're in play. As soon as you clear the tutorial, you'll also get 5 masks, each with different functionality, meant to lure or repel certain personalities. I won't get too specific here, but for example, one draws in concerned male targets, one chases away cowards, and another draws closer targets who have a grudge with you, and so on. You then lure your targets towards the traps, and you trigger them. See, the traps are not automatic, thus you need to be there and get any use out of them. And some will disappear after you use them, some need to be reloaded, and some will only disappear if they actually manage to accomplish something, and will stay active if they miss. I learned this via the scientific method courtesy of the early game spike trap, and a particular enemy who was not too cooperative in standing in the proper space in order for me to use it, so that was lucky. This leads into the cat and mouse game. Defeating enemies will get you XP, which will broaden your abilities further, and capturing them lets you decide the fate of their souls, either restoring MP or expanding your gold hoard. Thus, between waves, you can expend these things to build up your castle, hence the gameplay loop as I've already hinted. During the strategy phase, you can reset and place traps around the castle, or you can add rooms and furnishings to complicate the journey for anyone coming in. See, you don't want to die in combat, but you also don't want these invading plebs to get into the crystal room either. This will also cause a loss. So more rooms means it takes longer for them to explore, giving you more opportunities to deal with them. And the fine balance between raw attack and trapping souls means you want to use all sorts of traps available to you. Not just that, but the enemies are not completely stupid. If you over-rely on a particular trap type, you'll find even dim bulbs dodging to avoid future uses of it. See, enemies have stats too, primarily how much damage they can deal, or how much they're likely to resist trap damage or avoid them outright. I learned this the hard way when I lined a hallway with a bunch of damaging spike traps, and after only a few jabs, the invaders started dodging them. Imagine my shock that the AI is at least decently sophisticated. So you want to mix it up and keep your enemies guessing, as well as building an ever bigger domain to make it more challenging for your invaders to ever get close to you in the first place. And as time goes on, you will witness more complex character interactions and the story as more and more people roll up to your doorstep to have a go at you. Many for fame, some for glory and money, and some even in the name of love. And it's up to you to decide what you'll do in these conditions, as the game does have multiple endings which hinge on your gameplay and decision making. Even though I had literally never played it before, I absolutely fell in love with Deception, having finally gotten no hands-on experience with it. That's a snack joke. Really, my only complaint is the game is exclusively linear. You'll move from the strategy and building phase to the action phases very rapidly, but there's little to no side content or anything to really break it up apart from certain story beats. But those also come much later on in the gameplay hours. I really don't want to spoil anything because this game is so good that it's worth playing for yourselves, but that's where I come with some more bad news. Good luck with that. The game only got re-released on the PlayStation Network in 2008, and it was only in Japan. Remember that little discussion on the whole Satan stuff from earlier? Yeah, that kind of came back to bite this game hard, and it never got a re-release or a remaster or anything of the sort. In fact, the newest game was Deception 4: The Nightmare Princess, which was released in the PS4 in 2015. So this may be a TECMO series with a more uncertain future than even my beloved Monster Rancher. And I have to say, that's an injustice. These games are incredible. I'm so mad at myself for missing out all this time. Believe you me, I will be following up on this series in the future. I have to know where this rabbit hole goes. Did you guys play Deception before now? Or are you like me, late to this crazy party? Leave a comment down below telling me so. Trap those little like and subscribe buttons because it helps me out an awful lot. And join us here each week for reviews, let's plays, and the Tomodachi Bros Review podcast, where we talk anime, movies, writing, books, characters, and more. Check out the description because there's so many awesome places where we have it hosted now. There is so much content. It's on Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and Apple podcast hosts. Sorry, I'm really proud of how Season 3 is shaping up, and maybe someday we'll even get around to releasing Season 2. Little teaser there. But thanks again for tuning in this Halloween season, and I will see you guys in the next one. Teaser, it's one you guys have requested based on the last top 10 I did, so I will see you there.